So with us now is Ajit Jaokar. Thanks for talking to us, Mr. Jaokar. Thanks for taking the time. Would you be so kind and tell us a little bit about yourself and your blog?
Okay, I run a company called Future Text. I blog on a site called Open Gardens Blog, which has been my blog since 2005. The whole vision of the company and the blog really is to look at how the worlds of the internet and the mobile internet merge. And this is really a massively disruptive situation, and we talked about it today on smart cities or on the web or on media and so on and so forth. So really this was a vision we started with looking to that. And really be focused on where that goes in the future.
Mm-hmm. On your blog I read a really interesting thing. You make a clear distinction between bloggers and what you call true journalists.
Right.
Why do you do that?
Okay, I think while these worlds are merging today, by that I mean sites like TechCrunch started as blogs, but they got investment and they became sites or media sites in themselves. I think as somebody who is a one-person blogger, essentially, on the blog. So a blog is a personal view. Nobody expects a blog to be a series of journalists, i.e. an edited version, so on and so forth. What people would expect when they read my blog is I would expect them to not only listen to my view, but to listen to about 10 different sometimes contradictory views. Mm-hmm. A journalist, on the other hand, is pretty much designed or oriented towards creating authoritative content in a certain way, and designed to work with the reader in that way. Whereas in my situation, a typical classic blogger situation would put outbound links very early in the article. With an outbound link, perhaps a customer could go somewhere else and would never come back to my blog.
I see.
So really, as a blogger, I expect that collectively people would know the insight, and I would not be the single source of authority. And this would be true because I am still a single person doing the blog here.
Okay. Let's turn. Let's stick first to the Webinos project. It's a EU-funded project called Webinos that you've been working on for quite some time. Can you please tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, I think the short answer I think is to look at the webinos.org site. Mm-hmm. Partly because it's quite a large scope of the project, but the idea is to take the distributed architecture to the web. At the moment, the web cannot do certain things because we can do them at a proprietary level. Mm-hmm. APIs is one example. So web APIs don't exist, and certainly they don't exist cross-platform. So by platforms, I mean the web, mobile, automotive, and TV. Mm-hmm. So you have web architectures clearly across all these platforms, and but the very fact that you have web on a TV or web on a BMW, who is a part of the consortium, that is one step. But the next step is what about the security, what about the privacy, what about the data protection, so on and so forth. So Webinos is essentially an EU-funded project with an open source architecture, which provides that framework to the web. And because W3C is a part of the consortium, essentially it will be the web. That's how we envisage it. So we don't expect that 10 years down the line we will be looking at Webinos as a platform. Maybe yes, maybe no, but the vision is that it will be an integral part of the web.
Integral part of the web.
And that I think is the potential of it. That's why it's so exciting, because what we are able to do is provide under an open source license architectures to companies which they can use under their own framework. So I don't know whether you know how open source licenses work, but really that people can use that code and still develop unique extensions on that.
So it's a very exciting not a technique, but an exciting field that we can expect a lot of development.
Yes, I think I'm truly excited about that because I believe it makes a big difference to people, and I truly hope it does over time.
Let's turn to one of your other main interests, and that's of course also one of the main or the interest of our website, which is the mobile world and the mobile sector. One of your theories is that the web and the mobile ecosystems will eventually converge. What makes you think so?
Well, it's already happening today at many levels. I mean, just the fact that you have IP in the telco ecosystem is quite a complex thing. I mean, yes, people talked about IMS, which is not strictly IP, but IP protocol coming across a telco is now a common framework. We are also seeing the same thing at different levels of the stack. So you're seeing apps, which could be on the web, which could be on mobile devices as well. So when you download a Facebook app on your phone, you are essentially picking up a piece of software which is agnostic to any platform.
Yeah.
And you could have essentially the same piece of software on your car, which is partly what Webinos is trying to achieve as well. So clearly that I think that has already happened. The question really is more of a disruptive architecture. So how do business models change when that happens?
Cool. What do you think once those ecosystems have merged, what would they evolve into in the future?
Well, I'm a believer in the internet. So my vision is basically that there is one web, there is one internet, and I think that that's what will happen. So we will see that. We are already seeing that in many ways.
Constant progress. You mentioned NFC, near field communication, in your predictions of the mobile trends of the next or of this year. However, you stress that NFC will mainly be used for interaction rather than transaction. Can you explain that?
Okay. First of all, NFC has basically two overriding roles. So, for example, if there's NFC on my phone and there's NFC on this device, something here, I'm able to tap onto that and get some information. That's what I call interaction. That's not a transaction. No money has changed hands. To enable the transaction to work, the key element which is needed is the secure element, and that's where I think there is still 3 or 4 different ways in which you can do it. As I mentioned in my talk, there is the SIM, there is the secure memory, then there is that sort of embedded architecture like Intel or something like that. And I think those will exist. There are ways, there are efforts to unify them. There is the SIM Alliance initiative to create an open API, which is a secure element agnostic. But I think that discussion still needs to be had or still needs to play through. So what will happen, I expect, is NFC when it comes to more for interactions, which I think most people would agree with that, at least for the near future.
At least in the beginning, yeah. Another really interesting topic in your prediction is SMS. You say that there is probably going to be first a decline of SMS usage, leading to the fall of SMS, but then there's going to be a rebirth. For example, I just read today there was a report that a survey rather that said that between 2005 and 2010, mobile providers lost about 60% of sales from SMS, and of course most of this is blamed on instant messengers, for example, like WhatsApp. So, what makes you think that there's actually going to be a rebirth of SMS?
Right. Okay. I have been long saying that SMS is one of the operator's most valuable strengths, but has not been utilized as a platform. So it is still very hard to enable SMS, embed SMS into different things, very hard to get it all working. And now, of course, we have things like WhatsApp, you have Twitter, so on and so forth. So functionally the same thing can be done. In fact, even most people today have smartphones, so if I send you an email, I almost know that instantly I could look at it, and if it's an urgent message, you will respond to it.
Yep.
So we don't save SMS calls. We save SMS calls. The reason I said it will be a rebirth is because if you see what happens in a country like India, where SMS rates are really, really very low, and there you have different type of business models. For example, chained SMS advertising. So you have 3 SMSs or something like that, and the third SMS is an advertisement or something like that. For companies like SMS Gupchup or I forget a couple of names. But the thing is, I believe that if the platform costs drop a lot, so the SMS costs drop a lot, then they could be used for different things, which they are currently not being used for. But I still think that the rebirth is not a guarantee. I don't exactly say that it's going to happen. Okay. I just say that if operators were less sort of more open to making it a platform that could happen.
It could be an opportunity, actually. The concept of smart cities is also an integral part of your predictions. Can you tell us a bit about the concept and actually, especially how it relates to mobile devices?
Right. When I say smart cities, I mean something very specific. I know there are various companies who have talked about smart cities, smart planet, and various initiatives. What I mean by smart cities really is the ability of a city to be a platform, to be like the internet, to be enable its providers to build applications using open data, for example. Much of this is based on some of the work I work with in Amsterdam on the World Smart Capital Program, and I think that a place like Amsterdam has value because of the culture of the Dutch culture, perhaps of open systems and environment and stuff like that. Where it comes to mobile is most interesting, I think, because mobile has sensors. And clearly I see a world class of applications which are based on sensors on mobile devices and anything else which is intelligently enabled. The technique to do intelligence into physical stuff it already exists using devices like Arduino boards. So I think that there is a quote-unquote a perfect storm of these technologies coming together.
NFC also being a part of this, or would you differentiate?
NFC, yes, I mean NFC, yes, why not? Yes.
Okay. Social media, of course, is all around us, and you're predicting that it will have a great impact on TV or on the sector of TV this year. Can you elaborate on that?
Okay, when I say that, if you look at what is happening at CES at the moment, the connected TV is one of the highest
the big hype.
mind share, hype for that. And I think connected TV is not new. It's been around for a long time. The industry focus has been around IPTV, which is a more structured, network-oriented vision, or cable TV, which is like Virgin Media, or Sky TV, which is satellite. But all these are basically quote-unquote dumb devices, dumb boxes, so they are basically broadcast media. They have some reluctance to adopt social media because it fragments attention. So basically it screws up the advertiser model when you have people looking at different things but not on your TV. Connected TV comes from the whole thing from a completely different place. It is basically simply a screen with more of a pure internet connection. It is also driven by apps and other social media. So that I think is an opportunity because it comes to it from a pure internet background. And there is no real quote-unquote service because it is service provided by the network. The services are apps. And that's interesting to people. But I think that evolution is where I see a lot of interest.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
Perfect.